So welcome back to Lavender Hall Fishery. We are back at the lake that has now been refilled. So if you guys have watched the video where I wander around the lake with it empty, looking at the different spots and looking at the different features, we're now going to use a marker rod to show you how you would find those features. Now the lake has changed since we were last here. So obviously Tom has been out with a digger, he's tidied all around the islands and he has changed it around a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see how different this lake feels through a rod than through my eyes when it was completely empty. So to start off with, I'm going to cast to some of the islands, to areas I knew that were nice and smooth and gravelly, and I'm also going to see where the silt now starts. So let's get the marker rod out and have a little nose. So to start off with, I'm going to cast towards the middle island. Now there's 3 islands on this lake, and I know from my memory that against that island it was quite smooth and gravelly, and then it went into silt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get a lead as close to the island as I can, and then we're going to have a little pull back and see what we can find. So that's landed about a foot away from the island. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give myself a foot on my rod so I'm nice and tight to the island. So actually we'll go 2, and then I'm going to pop it in the clip. I'm going to bring that back in and I'm going to re-chuck it so I know that I'm nice and tight to the island and I know exactly what I've got from the island moving closer to myself. So I've got that clip and I've added a couple of foot, which means I'm going to be nice and tight to the island, all being well. So let's have a quick chuck to the island. There's the clip, boom. So I'm about 6 inches off the island now. So now if I pull back, I know that from memory, from the island, there was about 1 metre before you hit the silt. So I'm just going to pull that back. There's a little tap of gravel, that's as it's coming down that slope. And then boom, I'm straight into the silt, and you can see there that the tip of my rod has gone a lot stiffer. So I know that I'm now in that silt that's just at the bottom of the island, and you can see my rod tip there, look, it's a lot more bent round, it's a lot harder to pull through. I'm only pulling very, very slowly. You can see there it's locked up, locked up. Now it should be a gap of about 1.5 meters, and then it should go firm again. So we're pulling, pulling, pulling. There's the silt still. 2 turns of my reel handle is about 2 meters. And there we go. That's where the silt ends and the gravel starts. So that there, I'm going to pop a clip on because that's right on the edge of the silt. I'm going to pull it back and I've got definitely a nice couple of meters of gravel. So I'll lift that up. And now with this new clip, I should be able to just land that lead just on the edge of that silt. So we'll just have another chuck. So now that's landed about 2 meters off the island. It went down with a nice donk. And there we have, look, nice, smooth gravel. So that there is a lovely place to present a rig. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the rig that I would use to fish over that gravel that's next to the silt. We'll bang the rig out and then we're going to go out with the camera and we're going to show you how that rig sits on that gravel. So let's have a little look at the rig I'd use over that nice gravelly area. So I have got a semi-stiff slip D rig. So this is a rig I use tying the semi-stiff material. I create a nice big loop on the end. It's just a good rig, it's nice and easy. You've all probably seen it by now. You're able to change the hook once you've had a fish. You just simply slip the loop off the point of the hook, remove the hook and the bit of shrink tube I've got there. Then you simply, new bit of shrink tube, new hook, re-steam it down and you're back fishing again. So what I've got on there is a little dumbbell wafter. I've topped it with a bit of corn. The corn's there for a couple of reasons. One is because I'm going to get a camera down in the water and I want to be able to see it nice and easily, so the little bit of corn's going to stand out. Then to that I'm going to put a little mesh bag of pellets. I've got a lead clip with quite a big lead. It's a 4-ounce lead. I like a big lead. I just feel it helps with hooking. Once that hook's in, the lead can discharge and then you've got a nice hook hold for the fish. This rig has worked really well for me recently. I get great hook holds with it, but it just lends itself perfectly to presenting itself over that nice, clean, gravelly area. Okay, that first clip is 13.5 wraps. That's to the gravel. I'm now going to remove that clip and carry on. 14, 15, 16. So a foot under 17. So I know that the gravel's at 13.5 and I know tight to the island is a foot under 17. So if I decide to put something tight to the island in the little area that's a bit cleaner before I hit the silt, then I know the 2 wrap marks. So I can now remove those clips. So my marker rod is all clean and ready to look at another area. Bring that in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up my fishing rod to 13.5 wraps, which will give me the edge of that silt right onto the gravel. So I've got my fishing rod here. Using some nice little 10-foot rods at this lake because it's ever so small. You haven't got a big chuck. Your biggest chuck is probably about 40, 50 yards. So 2, 3, 4. Right, so my feet are in exactly the same place again. I'm going to check the line of my eyes. Let's just flick this out straight towards the centre of the mound. Wait for the clip. There's the clip. Down and donk. And we're fishing. Onto my alarm. As that line sank a little bit, then we're going to get out there with the camera and have a look at how good that rig looks. So would you look at that? It's landed exactly how I wanted it to. You can see there's a little scattering of gravel. Some of it's a bit smaller than the others, but there's still a small layer of silt on top of it, probably only about 1/2 inch deep. But that semi-stiff material has done exactly what I wanted to do. It's kept the link nice and straight. You've got that lovely little wafter topped with a bit of corn there and a little pile of pellets that was in the mesh bag. But look at that, that's a bite all day long. You're fishing over something nice and clean. Rig goes out, semi-stiff material pushes it away. As it lands on the bottom, that PVA mesh mounts and you've got just an absolutely flawless presentation. Right then, there's rod number 1 done, and I've shown you exactly how I'd present over that little gravel area with a little mesh bag. Now normally I'd spot a little bit of bait over, but we're not going to do that for now. We're just going to look at the features and look at what rigs we'd use to present over it. Now I've got another island to my left, and from memory off the corner of the island it comes down quite steep and then it goes into quite deep silt. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and find that silt. Once I've found the silt, I'm going to show you how I'd present in it. There we go. No, another couple of foot on that. Doing this like a feeder angler, where they cast close to an island and they add a foot until they're nice and tight. Right, now we should be nice and tight to that island. Let's just have another cast. There we go, about a foot off. And that went down quite firm. So pull that back, there's the little bit of gravel. Now we should pretty soon go into the silt. Now there's the silt, it's gone nice and locked up. Now pull a little bit into the silt, drop another clip on, lift her up. All right, let's have a little look. There's a little cast. Yes, that went down with a different thud. You can see it's stuck in the silt there and then it pulls through. So there we go, I've managed to find the silt. And now I'm going to show you what rig I'm going to use to present in the silt. There's a couple of fish down there. So let's wrap this up, get the silt rod out. So let's have a little look at the lead setup I'm using and the rig that I'm using. The rig I've got is a spinner rig. I've got it with a 12mm pop-up and this sinks nice and slowly. That's really important. I've then got a naked helicopter setup. I've just got a simple 2-ounce lead set on the bottom. Now I've used the smallest lead I can because that means that it's not going to sink into the silt too much. Then just further up the line, I've got a heli bead, which means that the hook link has got plenty of play, meaning that when the lead hits the silt and it sinks into the silt, the hook link's going to be on top and that nice slow sinking pop-up is just going to sit nicely on top of the silt. So what we're going to do, we're going to get this wrapped up to the same as the marker rod, cast it out, and we'll get back out in the boat and see how it's presented. So here we go. Here's that helicopter setup. You can see the bead there just on the bottom right hand side of the screen, and the rig sitting absolutely perfectly cocked and ready to go. That Klinger SP hook look is absolutely dangerous. The lead is completely non-existent, completely vanished into the silt somewhere. I have sprinkled a little bit of pellet out around the rig while I was out there, just hoping that maybe we could pick up a fish through the afternoon. But yeah, that rig to me, absolutely perfect. Lead's disappeared into the silt. Again, that's a bite all day long. So there we go, a little bit of an insight into looking for features when you're on a little lake like this at Lavender Hall. Obviously we had the knowledge from the video that we did where the lake was completely empty, which does help massively, but I hope that you've managed to pick something up from this video. Remember to think about the donk. It's so important. As the rod comes down, you'll feel it come through the rod. Bosh, that's what you're looking for when you're looking for somewhere firm. With the silt, always make sure you've got that helicopter set up, because that's going to allow the lead to plug into the silt but allow your rig to sit on top of it, so you're presenting a bait better. Fish will stick their noses into the silt and find it, but I always feel a visual effect is always a lot more handy. Anyway, we didn't have anything last night, unfortunately. It is bitter cold this morning, but we do have really nice weather coming next week. The spring is well underway and hopefully there's going to be plenty of fish on the bank for you guys. I do hope that you've enjoyed this and I do hope that you've learned something from it. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments box below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.